Hello, everyone. My name is Janie Jenkin, and I am here today from 815 Stone Scrubbers to talk to you about gravestone preservation. Now, I am not an expert, merely a lover of history, preservation, and anything old. I love everything old. And I want to talk to you a little bit about how one gets started, or why would anyone be interested in regards to I want to clean gravestones. So it began during the pandemic, and when we were all locked up, I had just recently purchased an old American Foursquare in Rockford, Illinois, and I wanted to do some house genealogy on it. And so while doing that, I discovered these individuals here were owners and builders of the house that I lived in. And so when I went out to the cemetery at Greenwood Cemetery, as you can see, these stones at the top were all stones that were badly full of moss and lichen, and I wanted to do something to honor them. And I thought, let's do some research on gravestone cleaning, which I did. And so I delved deep into some research and I saw that there was a way to clean these stones properly. And during that time, it was a lockdown and we couldn't attend any classes. So I learned some things online and well, 815 Stone Scrubbers was born. And as you can see, the stones on the bottom have all been cleaned with D2 biological solution, in which we'll get to later on in this presentation. And they look fantastic today. So a little bit about our agenda today is I'm going to be speaking about types of gravestones that are out there that you might encounter, the preservation of the gravestones, and then maybe in future, I know I had a Q&A, but maybe in future you can reach out to me if you have any questions about this. So let's delve in. And our first thing that we're going to talk about are tablet gravestones. Now, tablet gravestones are exactly what it sounds like. They look like a tablet that has just been stuck into the ground. And in the beginning, that's pretty much on what they look like. You might encounter brownstone tablet gravestones, you might see slate, you might see sandstone and limestone. Now, remember, when loved ones were being buried in the late 1700s until just shortly after the Civil War, you had stones that were brought upon from resources that were in the area that people were living in. So brownstone you might not see here. You'll predominantly see those in the New England area, slate as well. Sandstone and limestone, definitely here in the Midwest, you'll see those. And again, those are resources that were being quarried here in the area that we have. And I wanted to show you and point out, so the three stones on the left are stones that were just tablets and stuck into the ground. And they were very thin. And so sometimes when you go out to cemeteries, you'll see these stones laying flat. And that's because erosion, time, and moisture has caused fractures within those stones. And then they have cracked and fallen. And then they're laying flat. So it takes some efforts and some skills to learn how to lift those up and then reset them back into the ground again. Now, the very last photograph you'll see is a limestone gravestone, and that is in a base. And that base, that little hole that's cut out where that stone sits, is called a keyway. So the gravestone will sit in that keyway, and over time, erosion, acid rain, it will start to, again, sometimes in some areas, it will cause that area to moisten up, fracture, and the stone will fall. Or settlement happens after the stone has been set, after the loved one was put in the ground, and it will start to sink. And so what happens is then the tablet stone there will be level and flush with the ground, just like the other tablets before them, and they will crack. Moisture will hit them and crack, and then they'll fall backwards. So sometimes when we are doing gravestone cleaning at 815 Stone Scrubbers, we look for that base to see, is it repairable? Could we put it back into that base if possible? And so far, I would say all of the ones that we have done in this project have not been repairable. So I'm going to move on to the next phase of gravestones that you'll probably see. And we have the introduction of marble gravestones. Marble gravestones were introduced in 1873, and the first marble gravestones that were in America were for our Civil War veterans. And so you'll see that picture on the left is our Civil War veterans gravestones, and marble is now starting to be imported into America. And we're starting to see grave carvers or gravestone carvers really expand with this. And they're making beautiful, as you can see, tablets and monuments with marble. They're really being creative, and we see a lot of this happening. So marble and flagstone and brownstone, so on and so forth, were all from the 1700s all the way into the late 1800s. So now what happens in the late 1800s post-Civil War is we have the second boom of industrial revolution. And we've got a lot of people, what I like to say is we've got a lot of new money out there. And not only are the houses booming, we have these elaborate big houses being built, but we now have people who are passing away wanting to make a statement. They're coming from immigrants from other countries, starting these businesses. They have money and they're wanting to make a big statement in regards to, this is where, look at what I had, look at the money. I'm showing that through the monuments that I'm going to have at my final resting place. And so I like to say new money brings big granite gravestones. And as you can see here, these stones were at Greenwood Cemetery. And we have beautiful works of art there. You have sculptures on top of big, huge pieces of granite, obelisks. You have big slabs of granite and this intricate detailed carving on this one stone here. And then the fourth picture, you have big pillars with, again, big statements showing that they had money. And look at these truly big pieces of works of art. As you can see, my favorite one here in this collection is Dr. Dunn. He is at Greenwood Cemetery. We've got the best of all kinds of resources there. Those pillars are sitting on flagstone. Then the pillars themselves are made of granite. And then the top is made out of marble. And then you've got some more pieces of flagstone. So really great details of how the sculpture was unique in regards to pulling all the pieces of the resources that he had together to make this big grand statement for Dr. Dunn. We've got spheres. And then this Manny gravestone here on the right. Again, pulling resources together that Monument Company did. It's sitting on flagstone and then a piece of granite and then the cross and the book of all of the individuals who are buried in that family plot, a big like a angelic person standing there, and then the anchor are all made out of marble. So think of the works of art and the detail that went into that. It's just fascinating to see some of this stuff at Greenwood Cemetery. And then we start moving into colored granite. So we've got pinks and reds and tiger stripe granites. And so we've got beautiful pieces of gravestones along in Greenwood. And then what happens next is we start going into the Great Depression and we have the crash, and people just can't afford to buy gravestones anymore. There is no big elaborate gravestones anymore. And cemeteries basically want to keep the maintenance down for these individuals who are being buried there and trying to keep for their ground crew to be able to mow around things. So we move into what is called flat gravestones or pillow top granite gravestones. So the flat, obviously, you've seen those. They're just flat rectangular gravestones. And then the pillow top they're rectangular, but they have a little raise to them. And I like to say they're kind of like this. So they look like a pillow. So they come up in the back and then they come down in the front, and then they have the loved ones' names there. So why do we preserve gravestones? Well, it is a footprint of the person who once lived on this earth, and we want to preserve those individuals so that they can be remembered. Keeping these gravestones and historical markers going for future generations is what's going to keep history going. Some of the setbacks that we have as gravestone preservationists are decay and deterioration, of course. sunken gravestones, and then funds to be able to pay for the solution that we use for the gravestone cleaning. Some important do's and don'ts of gravestone cleaning. You must, and I will stress this, always ask the cemetery for permission to clean gravestone. Just because you've watched some tutorials on YouTube or TikTok, or even me right now today, explaining on how to clean gravestones, I would encourage you to definitely ask permission to go in there. Now, if they are your family members, you can go in and clean them. They are rightfully your family. But if you're going to go do a good deed and want to clean gravestones, I would definitely recommend building a rapport, reaching out to the cemetery to let them know that you would like to clean gravestones and you're interested in it. You've had some training on it, and could you come in and do that? And 99% of the time they'll let you in because they want their cemetery to be kept up and look good. So definitely you must have the correct supplies, and I'm going to get into some of the supplies that we're going to use. You always want to use a soft bristle brush. This is a nylon brush. I've got a couple styles here, one with handles, one without handles. They're easier to grip. You definitely want to make sure that you're using plastic scrapers so they have some give and they won't ruin the detail of the gravestones when you're trying to remove moss and lichen. Some things that you might want to also have in your toolbox are a pair of safety glasses to keep any kind of splashing that happens, because it does happen. Maybe some hedge trimmers. You might encounter some loved ones where family members in the past might have put greenery or a tree nearby, and you want to keep some clippings of those out of the way of the gravestone, so you want to do that. Your loved one's gravestone might be surrounded and covered by grass, so having a little small hand trowel is a good idea to have in your little case. I always like to keep a little tiny brush around to brush off some of the dirt that is being kicked back up. And then the most important part is the D2 biological solution. I'll tell you where you can get that, but this is a must, definitely only item that you use when you clean your gravestones. And the last thing on the do's is I definitely suggest that you volunteer or attend a proper gravestone class. Now, we offer at 815 Stone Scrubbers free classes to come and help us volunteer clean Civil War veterans' gravestones. That is the project we are currently working on right now. And so with that, we teach you how to clean historic stones. We supply you with a product, and then you learn how to clean gravestones, which you can go forth and clean gravestones at another cemetery if you're interested in your family members' gravestones, or you can continue to volunteer with us. Some don'ts that I want to go over is that pretty much the opposites of what were the do's, which were don't go into a cemetery without permission. Definitely don't want to do that. Don't use household items to clean gravestones. So no soap, no bleach, no vinegar, no Windex, no Fantastic, no granite surface cleaner that you might use on your granite kitchen counters. Totally different type of polish on there, so you don't want to use that. No Wet and Forget, and no Simply Green. The only product that you should be using is the D2 biological solution. You don't want to use wire brushes. You don't want to use power washers. And as much as some people might think, oh, you can get all of the dirt and debris off in one shot, don't do that. You could cause damage. The pressure of the water coming out can definitely ruin a gravestone. The same thing with a sandblaster. Yes, I had somebody want to suggest let's use a sandblaster to try and get all of this dirt and debris off. Please don't do that. And don't use a metal scraper. So, this is, again, a plastic, soft, wiggly scraper. And over time, it'll start to deteriorate and turn into a little nub. So they go a long way. So this is the result of not using the again, the D2 biological solution. Trust me, I'm not getting paid by D2. I just believe in the product. I've seen the results. So the D2 biological solution is important to use. And this is the result of not using it. Now, I'm sure this family's loved one had really good intentions and wanting to keep their family plot clean, but it has done nothing but damage. And as you can see on the far right picture, whatever they used ate away at all of the polish on this granite. And so you can see on the far right, we've got a veining that happened within the granite. And over time, acid rain, erosion, weather elements have done nothing but get into those veins, and it's starting to make the stone crumble. And you don't want to do that. And once this has been done, you cannot do anything to fix it other than replace the stone itself. This is another result of not using D2 biological solution. As you can see, you've got the bits and pieces of stone crumbling off. You've got the exposed granite there to see. So again, I cannot stress enough, use the D2 biological solution. So I want to show you some before and afters here. The stone on the left is a stone that we recently cleaned. It was full of moss. It was very dirty. This is a marble stone, and 2 weeks after it had been cleaned by our volunteers is what it looks like on the right. So this was done in May. I don't have a current picture, but I can tell you that it is much brighter. We were out there this weekend and it is much brighter and whiter. So as the D2 biological solution is sprayed on there and you clean it, it still remains deep in the pores of the stone and continues over time to clean the stone. So it reactivates itself every time it rains. So a little goes a long way, and it's a matter of time. That stone didn't get that dirty, full of lichen and dirt overnight. It was years of it happening. So definitely give it some time once you've done the cleaning. So I'm going to show you here a little video of what a typical cleaning might look like. So this is a Civil War veteran's gravestone that we recently cleaned. So it had some moss on it, and truly the process takes very little time. We have to let the solution sit in there, and then you go through, start to scrape it, scrub it, and you'll see, as you can see, the dirt just starts coming off. And it starts to get whiter. All right. And that is what it looks like today. Again, it's a process. It's much brighter than it was before. It's not completely white yet, but over time, the solution will work and do its job of killing that bacteria, lichen, mold, moss that was sitting on it. So much brighter. So you'll see some darker spots at the top left corner there. Those will just start to fade out as the solution reactivates itself over time. I'm going to show you a couple more slides of some really bad lichen infested gravestones. So this one on the left was one that one of our volunteers did. And when he was completed, the stone on the right is what it looked like. Same on the left here, it was very full of moss and lichen. And after our volunteer was done, it looked like the stone on the right. So you might ask, how can you get involved and have a hands-on experience? Well, you can find us at Greenwood Cemetery. Our next volunteer dates are going to be Saturday, September 9th from 8 to noon, Sunday, September 10th from 8 to noon, and then Saturday, September 23rd from 8 to noon. We do also have some October dates, but you can find us on our social media. across the board, and I'll give you that in a second. But if you can't come out and volunteer, if you're seeing this from another state or another country even, we do want to keep this program going. And again, we are not, and I'm going to stress it again, we are not a non-for-profit. We are just strictly a bunch of volunteers who are passionate about history, wanting to keep preservation going on these Civil War veterans' gravestones. And any little bit of donation we can help. So we have an Amazon wish list for items that we use for our volunteers. And then we have a D2 biological solution wish list as well. So you can scan those and have those sent to us, and keep this project going for us. And if you can't help us, that would be a great way to help us. And then questions, and I'd be happy to answer those in future. Again, you can reach me. I am Janie Jenkin with 815 Stone Scrubbers. You can reach me at 815stonescrubbers@gmail.com. You can reach me at any one of the social media platforms listed below, which is Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And our handle is at 815 Stone Scrubbers. So thank you so much for listening to me. And again, ask me questions, reach out to me, and especially if you can come and help us with this project, we would love for you to come and help us. And I would love to teach you how to volunteer. Thank you so much, and have a great day, everyone. Bye.